Hey guys, welcome to this episode of Restoration Revelations. This episode, we're going to do something a little bit different. If you've been tracking along, you're going to see the cars that we've been building, but this week, I'm actually going to show you how we got here. I'm excited to do that because we build these custom Chevelles, and we're going to build a lot of them. And I have 4 in production right now. So actually, by the way, don't forget to like, subscribe, follow along. If you like hot rods and muscle cars, man, you will love Studio Hot Rods, and these restorations are cool. We offer them with a 3-year, 36,000-mile bumper-to-bumper warranty. Who does that? Crazy people like me. Anyways, this is our number 2 car, and actually I'm hoping that we're going to get it running and driving this afternoon. I could just get Jeff to finish up one brake line. It's just one brake line away. It runs. He actually haven't had to move on his own power yet, but this 1970 Chevelle is actually going to be shipping out to Colorado. It's our number 2 car. Let's go through the different cars and the status of where we're at with each one of them, and then I'll kind of back in to show you exactly what it took to get there. It ain't been a smooth road, but it's been a great ride. Come on, let's go. Man, it's just a cool car. Wait till you see what I'm gonna do to it. It ain't even fast yet, baby. Duck, 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 goose. This is our number 4 car that we're actually building. Actually, the beautiful ones I just walked by, you could actually own if you wanted us to custom build it for you. Anyways, we'll get back to that later. This number 4 car, we call it the Black Pearl. Man, it's got a gorgeous paint job. I try to find really nice cars so they don't have to go through my body shop and I don't have to paint them. I mean, if it needs a touch-up or repair, I'll handle that, but I'm looking to buy, so if you got a car to sell, let me know. Call me up. Hello, Harry. I got the car I can sell you. But anyways, we're looking for 68, 69, 70, 71, 72s. If you got anything in that ilk, man, contact us. Send us a message, please. Oh, by the way, speak about communicate with us. Like, follow, subscribe, follow along. We got some cool cars that we're building. So anyways, this is the Black Pearl. I don't have a lot to share with you about this car other than the fact that we have pulled the body, the front end off of it. It's already gone through media blast. It's ready to go, and I'll pick that up in the episode later when we're talking about chassis. It's over at the other building, but look at this. This is the motor that's going in there. A brand new GM LT4. That's right. This one isn't just going to be a stock one. This guy with this car is going all out. We know what he's getting. He's getting the Brian Tooley cam, the DOD delete, long tube headers. This thing is going to be putting out 800 plus horsepower in this car, and it is going to be a rock star. From the audio systems to the navigation to the power plant, whew, it's going to be gorgeous. Just to get these motors, you guys know, if you build cars and hot rods, and I don't grab motors out of a crashed Corvette or a ZL1 or no. We buy them brand new from General Motors, and we use this thing to make sure that we can validate our warranty. Bumper to bumper warranty, good stuff. Anyways, that's the Black Pearl. Let's go to car number, let's go to number 3. Just for the record, guys, we do a lot more than just build Chevelles. We build Vegas too. Anyways, the other one's in back. Come on, we'll go get there. Mustangs, motors, awesome. GTX, you see that? Chevelle up on the shelf. Put a motor in that Nova. That's a Corvette that I built with the LT1 in it. That's just absolutely gorgeous. I'm getting distracted. Let's go after car number 3. Okay, so this car is in hold mode for a moment. And the reason we're doing that is because you don't want to go backwards. I've done that before where you build something and then you got to go backwards. This one, we got to double check all the fitment issues because it's the first LT4 with the 6L80E transmission that we're putting in it. So we got to double check all the fitment, the tunnel, all the parts that I made, and then where all the components, because it actually takes 2 different computers because I'm not using the Holly. On this one, we're actually going with the OEM computer and OEM trans computer. Anyways, to make a long story short, this one's in a holding circle. Like, you know, been on a plane, it can't land because it's busy or whatever. I got to get that other chassis assembled to get the wheels and tires and rims set up on it. The exhaust is already on it. The engine, transmission go in it. And we'll roll it back over here for a fitment before we actually go ahead and start doing paint work. Because I hate doing paint work or body work or any of that other stuff and have it not, I have to redo it. Come on, you've been there, right? 2 steps forward, step back. No. So number 3 car, she's in a holding pattern. That doesn't mean we're not working on it. This is just the body. We're working on the chassis. All right, let's hop over to let's go with the number 2 car. Come on. Okay, I'm not gonna lie, I get distracted a lot. I have the attention span of a gnat, but I wanted to show you guys, we built this 1958 Corvette. This is an Art Morrison chassis with an LT1, which is the predecessor to the LT4, right? That's the LT version of the motor versus the LS. But anyways, we built this about 3 years ago for a customer of ours, and he just absolutely loved this car. So he brings it back once in a while. We'll change the oil. We'll check it all over. But man, I just wanted to brag for a second. Look at how gorgeous this build is. Isn't it stunning? And that one right there, Eddie is a wild card, let me tell you. And I finally put a motor in it. I don't think he can blow up with a rev limiter. But man, manly rods, iron crank, forged iron crank. I mean, it's got all the good stuff. AFR heads. He'll be able to really enjoy that car. And it's gonna be, heck, it's faster than probably my Chevelle. Yeah, they're different purpose cars. Anyways, let's go check out number 2. Sorry, I got distracted, but I had to show you. We do a lot more than just these 3-year, 36,000 mile warranty cars. We do a lot more. Come on. We just finished the paint work on that car, and we're doing a final clean on it and getting ready to let the customer come and get his reveal. Take a look at his car. Like I said, we do a lot more than just about. Happens to be an A-body. Hey, Sarah, will you stop for a second, please? Yeah. Hey, this is very professional. We have to record now. Right? Anyways, this is the number 2 car. Number 2 car is so special to me because this car has got the LS3 motor, but we're actually printing the air induction system. I'm working on a cold air induction system for it, but hopefully if Jeff ever gets the brake line done, he's still on it. Anyways, we'll get the brake line on it, we'll bleed them out, and hopefully we should be able to at least lot drive this bad boy today. It's kind of exciting. I love it when, not just to start them, but to run them, drive them. What's really cool is like the drive tuning is gonna go so much faster because that's where I'm going to take you to the number 1 car, the prototype car. But anyways, this bad boy should be running on the road today. This is the number 1 car. This is the prototype car. This car is not for sale. I'm not planning on ever really getting rid of it because it is the beginning of a new era. This remanufactured restoration revelation is what was in my head. And what we did is build this one so that way anything I want to try, anything I want to test, I don't have to get a customer approval on it. I'm just going to do it on mine. And if we like it, boom, we'll put it in there. And the number 2 car has got all the cool stuff that I actually did once, twice, 3 times, 4 times. Actually, I got a lot more to do because I keep playing with it. But my ultimate driving machine doesn't just happen. It's hard work. You know, what did Thomas Edison said? It's 99% perspiration. You got to work hard at it. And that's what we're doing, working hard at it. This thing is gorgeous. I love this car. Anyways, this is the number 1 car. It's got 575 horsepower, naturally aspirated. It started with a 525 GM motor, 525 horsepower. And then the stack fuel injection adds about 50 horsepower to it. So they haven't put on the dyno yet to prove it out, but it'll be right there. I'm still fine tuning it because I want fuel economy and performance. I've changed the rear end. I've changed the springs. I've changed the exhaust. I've changed about everything you could change, honestly, in the drive tuning, but that's what makes it a great ride. This thing, you could drive it across the planet, seriously. Anyways, let's go ahead and hop into the whole process of how we actually build these cars and what each one has gone through in the stages, and then we'll wrap it up and we'll bring it all the way back around to exactly what the most important thing is in it. All right, don't leave. Watch it, it's cool. So here we go. This is how the whole process starts at our place. After, of course, the customer has picked out exactly what they want on the coolest build on the planet, we go ahead and depopulate that chassis. That means we got to take the engine and driveline out of it, but not first. We actually take the fenders off, the hood off, take all the fluids out of it, and then we're going to separate the body long before we even remove the engine transmission. Okay, here that chassis is now at the other building, and we are going to media blast it. It's actually a glass bead that we actually blow at it to clean it all off and get it down to the raw steel. That way, we can get some epoxy primer on it and seal that bad boy up. The body and the chassis used to be combined together. They would bolt them together, and the hardtops and the convertibles would have different frames. Why? Because they were infrastructure working in a cooperative relationship. Not no more. What we do now is we take that C-channel, box it, and then we add all the reinforcement structure into it so we can make that thing solid as a rock. I photoshopped up in Illustrator kind of what I was thinking, of the different lay of the shock, because as you change the angle of the shock, it'll side load it a little bit, but it actually, like if you move it 25 degrees, it'll actually decrease the spring rate by about 20 degrees, if that makes sense. I'll go into it later. Okay guys, this is where it kind of gets fun. We bought an aftermarket kit to actually modify the chassis by welding it into the C-channel and making it nice and firm. But when we put it together, we noticed that it just didn't have the rock solid stability I was looking for to handle that 500 horsepower plus motors that we're gonna be putting in these bad boys. So what we did is we took it to a new level. A or B? What do you see? I see clouds. Bat wings we put up top are actually going to give it more structure because we tied the top of the chassis together. It's got the hoop like the other kit came with, but we're going to take that cross member that holds that transmission in, and we are going to make that like an I-beam cross member that's going to make the bottom side of it rock solid. Yep, you ain't going to find this anywhere else. So that is awesome. We got this thing rocking. I am so excited where we're at with the chassis on these cars. It's unbelievable. Now that we got the chassis all linked up and I showed you how we got there, I'm going to take you guys now to the body part. Chassis, done. Now we're going to hop over and look at what we got to do to the body to make it all come together. Well, we're going to talk about the engine, transmission, drivetrain. There's lots to talk about, but we're going to head over and talk about the body now. So this here is the first prototype we actually built. You can see that we had to go ahead and smooth out that firewall. We actually handmade each one of those plasma cut pieces that we're going to put on the firewall to smooth it out, make it look clean, clean, clean. Make it look simple? Nope, not so much. Just make it look clean. I like it when the firewall and the inner fender wells are all very, very clean, neat, and orderly. And that's a great approach. And we weld that bad boy back in there by hand, and it makes it smooth and sexy. But it takes a long time because you got to stitch weld each one of those welds into that firewall, and you got to be careful not to warp it. Yuck. The whole idea of building these cars over and over is to actually be able to repeat the process. After I looked at what it took to actually build that firewall the way we did it, I said, heck with it. I'm going to get myself a 3D scanner, we'll template it, and then we'll be able to repeat this thing. Push, play, rewind. Yep. These parts right here are the first parts that we actually ordered that are going to go on the firewall. So Jeff didn't actually have to plasma cut these or make these. It's a nice thing. In the past, we would actually put all these up into there, and we would do a bead weld all the way around the edge, grind. But this time we're going to take a little bit different approach. I went to a heavier gauge steel, which is now, I think we were using 16 gauge, and I bumped up to 14 gauge. Pretty sure. Anyways, this heavier gauge steel now gives me a lot more structure. So like with new Ferraris, Lamborghinis, Porsches, you know what they do? They don't weld them together. They glue them together. Now glue is not enough just for me. So we're going to put perimeter studs on our firewall that will stick through the new piece that we made, cut the holes in it, and then we are going to actually use a panel bond and glue it in place. Now this thing's even straighter and flatter than it was before because I'm all about that straight, clean looking firewall. So these pieces will go together a little bit faster, actually a little bit stronger, and it'll be easier for me to make them totally straight. Now don't be confused by these little speed screws that are here. We are templating it in place on the firewall. These will actually be holes that will be in there, but there'll be a stud on the other side of this. So you just slide it up there, and we put the panel bond adhesive all around it like a Ferrari, right? And then we're gonna pull it in from the other side. That way this thing is gonna be totally flat, totally smooth. When you weld on here, it's a real pain in the butt. In your left hand, you hold an air gun. I don't have one close. In your right hand, you got your welder. And really, this is typically done with either the TIG or the MIG, but as you're walking it around, you gotta cool it. So you go zip, zip. This is gonna be much better because we don't have to worry about heating it. What happens is you get a little bit of warp in the panel, and that's also 14 gauge steel. I'm gonna continue to get better. My first one's great. Are you kidding me? That just means they're getting better because I'm going to constantly make them better. Now this is where the wicket gets sticky. What I'm talking about is placing the engine and transmission at the correct angle to make the pinion mate with it and give you a really decent ride quality all at the same time. You got to get that engine and trans in the right spot in regard to the firewall and its location. Design failure number one. The trans tunnel is probably the most sensitive part of this equation. Lots of people think they can just stick an LS motor or a different transmission inside these A-body cars, and if you want to get it flat and level, about 2.5 degrees down is what you're looking for, and you want it in the right position, you got to actually make up for that with that trans tunnel. We built that universal style trans tunnel, not to just take an LS motor, but you can put an LS with an automatic transmission, an LS with the stick shift transmission, the TKO, the TKX, the 4LE, the 6LE. We got it all set up so you can actually have a universal trans tunnel that's all set up exactly right in the right location. It even works with an LT4 and a 6L80E. Oh yeah, that's what we're gonna build next. This is a pretty slick move. We basically take a bed liner style material, thin it down, and it's called a Raptor liner, and we put that as a protective coating on the bottom of the car after we have stripped it completely. So think about it. You got the engine, the transmission, and the bottom of that car all pretty much brand new conditions, ready for any kind of driving conditions. And to boot, it's got a sound deadener to it. How cool, right? So if I find a car that's full of undercoating on the bottom of it and they're trying to sell it, you know what I say? Because you're covering stuff up, right? And I want to make a point that we take these things down to the bare metal and then we bring it back up with an epoxy primer, and then we'll shoot it with what we call it a Raptor liner. It's almost like a bed liner, but if you notice, you can see all the details, the seams, the details on the original steel. And the reason that's important is you don't want to cover stuff up. What you want to do is protect it, right? But we're not in the business of covering stuff up. And as you've seen from some of the things that I've seen, people cover up a lot of stuff, and that's not the gig here. On the other side, it's kind of cool. Let me see if I can open it up. It's always like Christmas, opening up freshly painted stuff, right? And look at this. It's beautiful. And this has a nice stipple finish to it. So this is the Hot Rod Black with a stipple finish, and that's how we finish the whole engine bay. So up here, from the liner down is here, and then up here is the Hot Rod Black. So the underside of the hood gets the Hot Rod Black. And I go with the stipple finish because it's very durable. And the reason we use this paint is it's impervious. That means you can't hurt it with like brake fluid. Kind of cool, right? So you guys ever had a cool old car and brake fluid leaked out of your master, goes down the firewall and it touches the paint and it ends up on the frame and it gets all boogery and yucky and nasty? This you can't really hurt. Another, think ahead, right? That's what we're doing with this stuff, and it's gonna look really sharp. So, you know, the old cars were kind of tinny sounding, you know, the way they came from the factory. You hear it? Did you hear that? Is that hearable? Versus, go to the other side. The sound deadener in here is really cool. Look at it. Versus.
Oh, wow.
Isn't that crazy? Details really do make a difference. Maybe we should do it up under here. Hear how quiet this engine is? Well, it's actually not running yet. But since you've seen how we build the chassis, how we actually go out. Oh, that's okay. Anyways, how we go out. It's probably gonna start playing music. You never know. Hold on a second. See, modern cool technology in the old cars. Anyways, like even this. That's sweet. Quiet in here, isn't it? Can you hear the motor? Oh, it's not running yet. Not bad. Buckle up. We're gonna go for a little bit of a run, Buttercup. All right. Isn't that nice, quiet? You can talk. It's not too loud. I don't want it annoying. I don't like those cars that, you know, have droning or lots of sound coming out of them. God, man, we want this thing to be cool, drivable, enjoyable. You know, the nice thing about this thing is it was supposed to be about 20 miles to the gallon. Here's my problem. The way I'm driving it, I'm averaging 8. I just don't understand why. Why is it only 8 miles to the gallon? See, now that's in sport mode. Of course, we can calm that bad boy down. Figure nice and quiet. Hold on a second. Now it's like whisper cool and quiet. This is cross country mode. You can drive this anywhere at nice, slow, easy speeds. We'll take it for a quick burn around the other building, and then we're gonna head back to the shop, and I'm gonna walk you guys through what it took, drive tuning wise, to actually get this thing to be as smooth and as enjoyable as it currently is. It's not a great open area to fly through. Taking this corner at about 45 miles an hour. Can't do that in a 1969 Chevelle anywhere. Anywhere. I challenge anybody. I want to get this out to the racetrack. Woo! Oh man, I love driving this car. Wow. The car just got finished up and I'll have driven it about 150 miles. That I will do on every car that we build for a customer. So I will drive it for the first 200 miles or so and wiggle out everything that needs to be wiggled out. You're looking for leaks, adjustment. Like one of the things I got to do is I got to adjust where the center, I got to adjust the upper control arms to recenter the rear end. It's a little bit tighter on that side than this side, but because the body came off, the new chassis that we boxed and we reinforced, it all has to kind of settle in and nuzzle up. You know what I mean? Get comfortable with everybody. So I did some hard driving on it and I really enjoyed it. It sticks. Everybody's gonna make fun of me. 15-inch rims. This thing, it's ridiculous how good it drives. I'm telling, it's crazy. I wish you could be here right now and hop. Actually, you could come see me in Richmond, Illinois, just south of Wisconsin state border, way up north of Chicago. But we're gonna go through this car real quick. I gotta reset that. I'm looking for leaks, squeaks, streaks, anything that needs to be adjusted. I'm checking for brake fluid, you know, any leaks on that kind of stuff, you know. So you gotta go through the cars after they kind of like settle in. It's just a big, long test ride. And I'm really pleased. Come on, let me show you real quick. As you can see, I use a lot of QA1 and Willwood combinations. They're real good quality. Don't buy the cheapest stuff they got. In back, it gets a 4-piston caliper. In front, it's a 6-piston caliper on the Willwoods. The body comes off the chassis. You can see all the reinforcement we do like here, all the way from the torque box, all the way to the front of the car. That stiffens this car up. And you wouldn't believe it. And you just gotta try it. I mean, so there's kits available for these things to be done out there, but I changed that kit around a little bit. I didn't really like some of the things that were in it because I wanted to make our own big, huge cross member for the transmission. I also added these supports into it. This is a really cool design. You'll see it in one of the episodes. And what really makes this thing really super special is rack and pinion steering of power, of course. And it's got, you know, the power disc brakes. It handles like it's on rails. Brand new trans, brand new engine, brand new radiator, brand new rear end. All the stuff is new. This car is driving me crazy. Ha! Actually, what we did is it has a rack and pinion steering, and we did a lot of work around that to figure out how do we want the car to drive. Question is, when you want to be purposeful in building a car, how do you want it to drive? Do you want it to be a race car? Or do you want it to have a little bit of a luxury feel to it? So the conversion of the rack and pinion steering in the front of this car required us to make some modifications. First things first, steering wheel. Go to a smaller steering wheel, it'll have a better feel. Way wrong answer. Steering wheel makes it more darty. That's not a good idea. So actually I went back to the OEM size steering wheel and I took it for a test drive. I absolutely love it. The only thing now is the suspension is a little bit too stiff up front. So we're using 450-pound spring rate springs in the front of it. And to get the ride height I wanted to with a 2-inch drop spindle, I actually had to crank the bottom of the adjusters up to get it to get to the ride height I want, because I actually think that the springs, a 450 spring rate, is actually too weak. Now we've preloaded the springs, which I think is making it too stiff. So it's the kit that they sell from QA1. We buy from them all the time. It comes for this car, but after looking at it, we scaled the car and it's about 3,800 pounds all in at this point in time. So now you're talking about 2,000 pounds on the front of it with a 450 pound spring rate. Get it? Get where I'm going? So 600 looks about the heaviest that I can get from QA1. So we're just going all the way to the top. My hope is that by putting a heavier spring rate in there, I'll be able to put less preload. If you preload a spring, right, it doesn't have the same compression ratio anymore. So the spring rate means 450 pounds per 1 inch of travel. That's only the initial inch, unless you have a progressive spring rate, and I'm not going there right now. So a spring rate, as you preload it, is gonna get harder and harder and harder as you compress it, and eventually you'll get coil binding and some of that kind of stuff. But the idea of going to a heavier spring to get a softer ride is exactly where we're going, and I'll tell you how that goes once we get this bad boy back together. Anyways, the Chevelle is about, this one is about done. I'm just fine tuning it to drive and ride exactly how I love. Man, This little wheel, Hey guys, this is a fun part of the tuning of the 69 Chevelle that we're working on right now, the A-body. So we went through the front suspensions. I walked you through in the previous ones where we've used all kinds of different springs. But I got so many different springs with spring rates. These have all been tested and been through the car. And we're to a point where we're totally done now with the front suspension. When you're gonna do any work on something, if you're gonna do diagnosis, change one thing at a time. It's a great idea to change one thing at a time, because if you change two, you don't really know how it affected it and where it went right or where it went wrong. So we've got the front end dialed in. It's gorgeous. Actually, we did a tune on the engine. It's running just right. But anyways, so now we've moved to the rear end of the car. And this is the coil over QA1 product that they sell. Nice product. You can adjust. C is for compression and R is for rebound. That compression is how fast does it compress, and the rebound is how fast does it rebound, come back up. Look at the difference in these two springs. Can you see it? This is a 180, this is a 300. Again, 180 pounds goes down 1 inch. So this is what it's shipped with for a A-body in the Chevelles. Go to this. Now, you set that, you want to get the full travel, remember? I'll go over it one more time again. You want the full travel of the spring in the shock assembly, like so. And you don't want to have this pre-tensioned. What you want to do is you want to leave the spring as loose as you can, and then come up with it a little bit from there. You put a spanner wrench on here, so you set this. This sets your ride height, right? So what happens is people spin this up. I know I'm being repetitive, but it's important that you guys understand this. It's like, you know, I feel like I'm cooking show, right? Now look at, see what it did? So now this thing's already pre-compressed, and then you spin this up. Look at how much travel you've lost in that whole combination. Does that make sense? It should make sense. Super important. If you like ride quality, then you might want to pay a little bit of attention to your spring rate in the back of your car. This is a big deal. So is that cool how we're building all these cool cars? I love building cars. Also, another thing I love is the Lord Jesus, and I love sharing the word with him. It's funny, we got this Elon Musk thing going at the front, right? Was it a tabloid? Actually, I want to challenge any electric car maker into a competition across sea to shining sea. Maybe we'll put up some money, we'll have some fun doing it, because I actually think that the electric cars with their batteries and their chargers and stuff cannot nearly perform as well as a beautiful 1969 or 70 Chevelle. Let's try that, but let me share it to you. One thing, you know, what is wealth, right? What is wealth? It's pretty cool. I like this one. This is 1 Timothy. Command those who are rich in the present world not to be arrogant and not to put their hope in wealth, which is uncertain, but to put their hope in God, who richly provides us everything for our enjoyment. Command those to do good, to be rich in good deeds, and to be generous and willing to share. In this way, they will lay up treasures for themselves and a firm foundation in the coming age, so that they can take hold of life that is truly life. What means, you know, what I love about that is like really puts perspective on everything. Wealth is fleeting, man. Tomorrow's not even promised, right? There's another verse in the Bible that says, don't worry about tomorrow. Today's got enough problems of its own. Let tomorrow worry for itself. Anyways, find yourself a Bible, read it, spend some time with it, ask God to like give you some clarity of what that means or what it is. Spend some time praying. God has a good plan for your life. Everybody is built in his creation. You know, you are built in his image. You have consciousness. Use it. Use it for good. Like, follow, subscribe. Follow along. Elon, reach out to me. We're going to talk about what wealth really is. And we'll see if we can run with you across the country. Wouldn't that be fun and cool? All right, peace out. Thanks for joining us on this episode of Restoration Revelations.